Good afternoon. I'm Rory Weiler from Weiler and Lengel PC out here in St. Charles. Today, I'd like to spend a few moments talking to you about how to manage client relationships during the existing pandemic. As I'm sure many of you are facing, our firm has been faced with challenges and difficulties trying to maintain our client relationships and specifically the communication that goes along with them. I'm going to spend a few moments today trying to give you a few ideas that we've come up with as far as how we can best do that, because once the pandemic is over, there will be a new paradigm in our practice. And many of the things that we're going to be using, many of the things that we're going to talk about today are going to become fixtures of the practice of the future. The biggest challenge that we all face today, and probably in the old days as well, is maintaining communication with our client and managing the expectations of that client. Because of the pandemic, of course, there are new and different challenges that we need to address when it comes to not only communication, but certainly managing the client's expectations. In our firm, we've had a couple of instances just in the last week where we've been contacted by the clients of other lawyers who want to move their case to our firm because they feel that they've been abandoned by their lawyers because they haven't heard from them. The most important thing that you can do during this difficult time is to maintain your communication with your clients. One of the things that we do, even if we don't have anything to say to a particular client, we send out a blast email once a week telling them, we still love you, we're thinking about you, we're still working on your case, and we encourage them to contact us. Then, of course, with respect to specific cases where we do need to have contact with the client, we communicate with them, obviously via email, via telephone. Some of our clients like the Zoom approach. But again, you use this time to maintain communication so that the clients remember that you're not only interested in their case, but that you're thinking of their case as well. Part of this process, because of this new normal that we're all faced with, is to use this time to manage the client's expectations, not only about the big picture, but about what can be done during this time. In other words, none of us have access to the courts, or perhaps our access is greatly limited from what it used to be. The old days of a client calls and we file a petition and we go to court, I suspect are probably over for good. One of the things that you need to do when that client calls up with a problem or with a concern or a question is to use that time to manage the client's expectations by asking the client rather, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And then what you can do reasonably given the access to the system that will enable you to try to meet that goal or to satisfy that need or to answer that question. Once again, because of this new paradigm of the practice that we're faced with, there are critical thinking is necessary to figure out how can I manage this client's expectations and serve his or her needs by not being able to get into the courthouse, not having access to a judge, not being able to meet with opposing counsel, all of the things that we used to do. Well, I would suggest to you that there are probably a couple of things that you used to do that you need to put more focus on. The first, of course, is mediation. Without access to the courts, mediation has become a much more available option because of the technology that we have. I did a lot of mediation, still do, and always wanted to have that in-person touch. That's not possible anymore. Now we are doing the mediations via Zoom, and I found that it's not really as bad of an option as I once thought it was. In fact, it has a lot of advantages that the in-person mediation does not. So certainly take a look at your client's file, take a look at your client's needs and concerns, and try to use the mediation process as a way of being able to move that case forward without the involvement of the judge. Secondly, the old tried and true, the linchpin of our practices is the use of negotiation. You might have reached a point in the case where you and opposing counsel were at loggerheads, you weren't going to make any progress, the parties had dug in. Well, it's great to dig in and say that, millions for tribute, but not a penny for charity. But if you don't have access to the system for 60 or 90 days, negotiation starts to look like a much better option. And I would suggest to you that all of us have files that we can look at and say, you know what, we were $1,200 apart on this file. What can we do to bridge that gap? Because you might find that it's better to take a little bit less at this point in time, rather than hope that you're going to get more when you finally have access to the courts. And of course, none of us know when that's going to be. The last point that I'd like to address with you is the fact that these times are obviously troublesome for all of us, but it's very, very important not to quit on your practice and not to quit on your clients. Continue your practice, continue to do what you've been doing. Look at this not as a difficulty, but as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to take the time that you now have, because you're not spending it in court or in depositions or whatever have you. You can take that time to review your client files. In my firm, we've come up with what we call the Case Snapshot. And simply put, it's nothing more than an Excel spreadsheet which identifies the case, the players, the usual information that you might find on the front of your file, and then goes into the file and gives us a complete snapshot of the last court order that was entered, what the status of all outstanding discovery is, what pleadings might or might not be necessary or were on file that it can't be acted on because of the closing of the courts. And part of the purpose of this Case Snapshot is for us to take it, send it to the client, initiate that communication with the client so the client knows we're thinking about the case. And we have two final items on our little Case Snapshot. One is attorney action items. The second one is client action items. And we come up with things such as, well, we recommend we subpoena so-and-so. We recommend that we schedule the depositions of somebody at some point in time in the future. Whatever it is that our recommendations are, the Case Snapshot has served two purposes. It's forced us to review every file we have in our office to see where we are at. And it also gives us that opportunity to say to the client, Mr. or Miss Client, here's what we need to do. Here's what we think you need to do. You need to, whatever it might be, start gathering up documents or thinking about the end game, or let's talk about the negotiations that stalled when we stopped being able to meet. These are all ways that you can communicate with the client, A, and B, just as importantly, you can take your file and work it up so that anybody in your office can take a look at the file and say, okay, this is a great idea. Necessity being the mother of invention, we came up with this idea in order to maintain contact with our clients, but we find out that going forward, we're probably going to do this kind of a review once a month or so, because in our opinion, or in our experience, I should say, it's become an excellent way for us to, at a glance, take a file, take a look electronically, of course, take a file, take a look at it, and see what is being done or what needs to be done. So in conclusion, I would encourage all of you to once again consider this not as an impediment to your practice, but as an opportunity for your practice and an opportunity for you to enhance your communications with your client, which is the most important client skill any of us can acquire. Communicate with your clients. As we know, they may not be happy, but they will at least believe that you care about them, you care about their case, and that you are going to be there when this is all over. So thanks for listening, good luck, and hope to see you all in person real soon.